9 experienced hikers set off on what should have been the adventure of a lifetime, a trek through the frigid Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. But none of them ever returned alive. When search teams finally located their campsite, what they found was beyond chilling. A tent slashed open from the inside, footprints leading into the snow, bodies scattered across the mountainside, some half-dressed, some with bizarre injuries and some missing body parts. Even stranger, traces of radiation were found on their clothes. The searchers described the scene as if the hikers had fled from something in pure terror. But what were they running from? An avalanche should have buried their bodies, yet their remains were found exposed. Some were discovered with crushed skulls and broken ribs, injuries so severe one doctor compared them to a car crash. Yet there were no signs of an impact or struggle. And then, there's the strangest detail of all. One of the hikers, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue and eyes. What could have possibly happened on that mountain in 1959? Was it a brutal avalanche? A secret military experiment gone horribly wrong? Or something far more sinister, something beyond human understanding? For over 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident has baffled investigators and fueled countless theories. But despite decades of research, one haunting question remains: what really happened that night? Stay with us as we unravel the chilling mystery of Dyatlov Pass, a case filled with eerie clues, unexplained horrors, and a truth that may never be fully uncovered. To truly understand this mystery, we need to go back to January 23, 1959, when a group of 9 hikers, all young, skilled mountaineers, set off on a challenging expedition to Otertin Mountain in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. The leader of the group was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student with a passion for adventure. He was joined by 8 others, most of whom were fellow students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Zinaida Kolmogorova, age 22, a determined and experienced hiker. Lyudmila Dubinina, age 20, known for her strong will. Yuri Doroshenko, age 21, once survived a bear attack. Rustem Slobodin, age 23, an athlete and runner. Nikolai Thibault Brignolier, age 23. Alexander Kolovatov, age 24, a meticulous planner. Semyon Zolotaryov, age 38, the oldest in the group, an ex-soldier. Yuri Yudin, age 21, and the only one who survived, by sheer luck. As the group made their way through the freezing landscape, Yuri Yudin fell ill with severe back pain and had to turn back. He had no idea that this decision would save his life. The rest of the hikers pressed on, keeping a detailed diary of their journey. Their last few entries showed no signs of fear, just the excitement of the adventure ahead. One of their final photos captured them laughing and building a snow shelter. But on February 1st, everything changed. The hikers had reached Dyatlov Pass, where they pitched their tent on an open slope, an odd choice considering they were just a short distance from a forest that would have provided more shelter. That night, something terrifying happened. None of them lived to tell the story, but their abandoned campsite and their bodies would leave behind a trail of clues that made no sense. What happened next is one of the most disturbing discoveries in history. For days there was silence. The hikers had planned to return by February 12, but no messages came from them. At first, no one panicked. Delays were common in such expeditions. But as the days passed, worry turned into fear. By February 20, search teams were sent to find them. Rescuers, local volunteers, and even Soviet military forces scoured the freezing landscape. Then, on February 26, the first discovery sent chills down their spines. The searchers found the hiker's tent eerily still standing, half buried in snow. But something was very, very wrong. The tent had been slashed open from the inside. Whatever happened that night, the hikers had tried to escape their own shelter in a hurry, Their belongings were still inside, warm clothes, shoes, food, untouched. It was as if they had fled in a blind panic. But why? Investigators followed a trail of footprints leading away from the tent. They weren't chaotic or scattered, they were orderly, as if the group had walked away calmly, barefoot, in sub-zero temperatures. The prints led 1.5 kilometers downhill, stopping near a large cedar tree at the forest's edge, and there, the search team found the first bodies. Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonyshenko were lying side by side, dressed in nothing but their underwear. Their hands were charred, and the tree above them had broken branches, as if they had desperately climbed up trying to escape something. Between them was the remains of a small fire. But why were two experienced hikers in deadly cold conditions, barefoot and nearly naked, and what had burned their hands? The search continued. 300 meters away, they found Igor Dyatlov's body, face up in the snow, one hand gripping a tree branch as if trying to crawl back to the tent. Not far from him, Zinaida Kolmogorova was found face down, her fingers frostbitten, and Rustem Slobodin was discovered with a fractured skull. Still, 4 hikers were missing. It would take 2 more months before their bodies were found, and the discovery only deepened the mystery. In early May, when the snow melted, search teams uncovered the final 4 bodies in a ravine 75 meters away from the tree. But unlike the others, these victims suffered horrifying injuries. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov had crushed ribs, so severe that their bones had snapped like they were in a car crash. Dubinina's tongue and eyes were missing. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol's skull was completely shattered. Even stranger, their clothes tested positive for radiation. What could possibly explain these horrors? An avalanche? A secret military weapon? Or something far more sinister? The condition of the bodies was beyond disturbing. The first 5 victims found in February had injuries that seemed consistent with hypothermia and exhaustion. Their bodies were sprawled in the snow as if they had collapsed while trying to get back to the tent. Frostbite had claimed their fingers and toes. But the last 4 bodies found in May changed everything. Horrifying injuries. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov suffered massive chest trauma. Their ribs were completely crushed, yet there were no external wounds, no bruises, no cuts, as if they had been hit with an immense, invisible force. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol's skull was caved in, suggesting a powerful blow to the head, but, again, no external damage, almost as if the injuries happened from the inside. And then, the most chilling detail, Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her tongue and her eyes. Her stomach contained coagulated blood, meaning she was alive when her tongue was removed. And the strangest discovery of all, traces of radiation were found on their clothing. Theories start to emerge. When the autopsies were completed, investigators were more confused than ever. The injuries on the bodies didn't match any known pattern. If an avalanche was responsible, how did it cause crushing force without external wounds? If it was hypothermia, why were the last 4 victims so brutally injured? The Soviet authorities quickly shut down the case, ruling that the hikers died due to an unknown compelling force. No further investigation, no explanation. But this only fueled speculation. What could have caused such violent, unexplainable deaths? Was it aliens? Some believe the hikers witnessed something they weren't supposed to see, possibly a UFO or extraterrestrial activity. Locals reported mysterious orange orbs in the sky on the night of the incident. Could the hikers have been exposed to something unnatural? A secret military experiment? Another theory points to a classified Soviet military test, possibly parachute mines or radioactive weapons being tested in the mountains. This would explain the brutal internal injuries, the radiation, and why the Soviet government hushed up the case. The avalanche theory. Many skeptics argue it was just a natural disaster. A slab avalanche forced them to cut their way out of the tent and flee, leading to exposure and injuries. But how does an avalanche explain missing eyes and tongues? A Yeti attack? Believe it or not, some think the group was attacked by a mysterious creature. Locals spoke of a Menka-Siberian Bigfoot. One hiker's diary even contained a cryptic entry: "Now we know the snowman exists." What really happened? Even today, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. Officially, it was ruled as a natural event, but the evidence doesn't add up. What could have been so terrifying that 9 experienced hikers ran into the freezing night, barefoot and half-dressed? Whatever it was, they never stood a chance. In the final section, we examine the latest discoveries and whether the truth will ever come to light. Even after 6 decades, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in history. Over the years, dozens of theories have been proposed, ranging from scientific explanations to paranormal horrors. But after all this time, has the mystery really been solved? New investigation. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, claiming they wanted to provide a final explanation. Their conclusion? A rare type of avalanche. They suggested that a slab avalanche, a sudden low-impact shift of compacted snow, forced the hikers to cut their way out of the tent and flee in a panic. With limited visibility and freezing temperatures, they got disoriented and separated, leading to hypothermia and injuries from falling into the ravine. But does this theory really explain everything? Does the avalanche theory hold up? The tent was still standing. In most avalanches, tents are buried or torn away, but the Dyatlov tent was found half covered in snow, still intact. The footprints were orderly. If an avalanche had just hit, why did the hikers walk calmly instead of running? The injuries don't match. Avalanches usually cause crushing impact wounds, yet some hikers had internal injuries with no external damage, as if the force had come from within. Even after the official conclusion, many experts remain skeptical. Could it have been a military cover-up? One of the most persistent theories is that the hikers were accidental victims of a secret Soviet military experiment. Some believe they stumbled into a testing zone where parachute mines or experimental weapons were being tested. This would explain the massive internal injuries with no external wounds, similar to the effects of shock waves from explosions. The radioactive clothing is also suspicious. While some argue the hikers' clothes were contaminated from their university labs, others point out that radiation poisoning is a known effect of secret weapons testing. And then there's the strange behavior of Soviet authorities. They quickly sealed the area, classified the reports, and even pressured witnesses to stay silent. Was Dyatlov Pass the site of a military experiment gone wrong? And were the hikers eliminated to cover up the truth? Did they encounter something not of this world? Many locals reported strange orange orbs in the sky around the time of the incident. Some believe these were UFOs and that the hikers were killed after coming into contact with something extraterrestrial. Supporting this theory, the hikers' bodies had high levels of radiation, similar to cases of alleged UFO encounters. The strange injuries, like missing eyes and a tongue, could suggest an experiment or dissection. Some witnesses claimed the hikers' skin had a slight orange tint, which does not happen in typical hypothermia deaths. Could they have seen something they weren't supposed to see? And if so, were they silenced? Was there a human threat? A less supernatural theory suggests the hikers were attacked by someone or something human. Some believe local Mansi tribespeople might have killed them for trespassing on sacred land, but this theory is widely dismissed. There were no signs of a struggle, and the Mansi were known to help lost travelers, not attack them. Others suggest that escaped Soviet prisoners or secret agents could have stumbled upon their camp, leading to a violent confrontation. But again, there were no signs of weapons or hand-to-hand combat. So, what's the truth? To this day, no single theory explains every mystery. The official avalanche theory explains the panic, but not the crushing injuries or radiation. The military experiment theory explains the wounds, but not why the hikers were found unclothed and barefoot. The UFO theory explains the radiation and missing body parts, but has no concrete evidence. Perhaps the real answer is something we haven't even imagined yet. Will we ever know? In the end, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the greatest mysteries of all time. New theories emerge every year, but the full truth may never be uncovered. What do you think happened? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love chilling mysteries like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because there are more dark secrets waiting to be uncovered.